Mommy hurt so much. What should we do now? The tiny voice broke through the stillness of the cemetery, trembling like the last leaf clinging to a cold November branch. Imagine this asterisk. A lonely man, visiting his wife's grave, suddenly face to face with two little girls, crying over the same stone. Richard Collins froze. He had come to mourn, not to meet two small girls kneeling before Grace's headstone, their thin shoulders shaking in the wind. The older one, no more than 6, whispered to the stone as if it might answer. The younger twin clung to her sleeve, wide eyes glistening with tears. Richard tightened his grip on the bouquet of lilies. His breath misted in the chill air as he stepped closer. "Girls," he said gently, "are you all right?" Both turned at once. Two faces, the same heart-shaped features, the same dark curls, the same frightened eyes. The older one straightened quickly, trying to look brave. "We didn't mean to bother you, sir. We came to see Mom." Your mom?" Richard asked, his voice unsteady. The smaller girl nodded. "She said she'd be here when she got tired." He glanced down at the grave. Grace Collins' beloved wife, a light to all. His throat tightened. Grace had been gone 2 years. They'd had no children. He had buried every dream of fatherhood with her. But here stood two little girls calling her mom. "What are your names?" he asked softly. "I'm Anna," the older one said, standing tall despite the cold. "This is Mia. And how old are you?" 6, Anna replied. "We're twins." He gave a faint smile. "I can see that." His eyes caught the threadbare gloves, the mismatched shoes. Their coats were too thin for the season. "Are you here alone?" Anna hesitated, then nodded. "Our mom's in the hospital. She said if she got too sick, we should come find Mrs. Collins. She promised she'd help us." Richard blinked. "Mrs. Collins?" "Yes, sir," Anna said. "Mom said Mrs. Collins was our guardian angel." The world seemed to tilt. Grace. ********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** couldn't pay their bills, never talking about it at home. "What's your mother's name?" he asked, though part of him already feared the answer. "Angela Bennett," Anna said. Richard felt the name strike something deep within him. Not recognition, something stranger, heavier, like a memory just out of reach. How did she know my wife? Mia rummaged through her small pink backpack and produced a bent plastic ID card. Grace's smiling face stared back at him. "Mercy Hospital volunteer. Mom said this lady helped her when she was in trouble," Mia whispered. "She said if anything bad ever happened, Mrs. Collins would keep her promise." Richard's knees went weak. He crouched to meet them eye to eye. "And where have you been staying?" "The shelter," Anna said. "But it's full now, so sometimes the bus stop. It's warm there at night." Her words stabbed at him. "You can't stay at a bus stop," he said firmly. "It's not safe." Anna's chin trembled. "We didn't know where else to go. Mommy said, 'Come here,' and Mrs. Collins would know what to do." When those little girls said their mother told them to find Mrs. Collins, something in Richard's heart, and maybe in ours, broke open. It reminds us that kindness never really dies. It simply finds new hands to carry it forward. If this moment touched you, tell us where you're watching from in the comments. Real Life Story wants to hear your voice. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Real Life Story for more stories that speak to the heart. The wind swept through the cemetery, rattling the iron gate. Richard looked at the grave, at Grace's name carved in soft stone, and felt the old ache rise in his chest. Even in death, she was still helping people, still keeping promises he'd never known about. He looked back at the girls. "You can't stay out here tonight. Come with me. I'll take you somewhere warm." Anna hesitated. "But you don't know us." "I knew your mom's friend," Richard said quietly. "And if Grace made a promise, I'll make sure it's kept." He reached out a hand. After a long pause, Anna placed her small palm in his. Her sister followed, clutching her coat. Together, they walked out of the cemetery, under a sky streaked with fading gold. As they reached the gate, Richard glanced back at Grace's grave. The lilies in his hand trembled. He whispered, "Grace, what have you done?" They drove in silence through the city. The girls sat close together in the back seat, watching lights flicker across the window. "Are you hungry?" he asked. "A little," Mia murmured. "We had crackers from the shelter." Richard pulled into a quiet roadside diner. The waitress raised an eyebrow when he entered with two small girls, but she smiled kindly. "3 grilled cheeses," he said, "and hot chocolate." Anna folded her hands on the table, her manners careful. "Thank you, sir." Mia grinned shyly. "Mom says to always say thank you, even when life forgets to be nice." Richard felt something crack inside him. Grace had once said something almost identical. Kindness doesn't wait to be earned. After dinner, he drove them to Mercy Hospital. The smell of antiseptic struck him like a memory. Grace had spent her final nights here, whispering to him about the light beyond pain. He approached the nurse's desk. "Angela Bennett," he said. The nurse frowned. "Room 214. She's in critical care." He nodded. "Thank you." Anna clutched his coat as they walked down the corridor. "Do you think she's awake?" "I hope so," Richard said. "She'll be glad to see you." The room was dim. The only light came from the heart monitor's gentle glow. A woman lay pale and still, oxygen tubes winding from her face. "Mom!" Anna breathed, rushing forward. Angela's eyes fluttered open. "My girls." Her voice was barely a whisper. "You found her." Richard stepped closer. "You mean Grace?" Angela nodded weakly. "She kept her promise." He frowned. "What promise?" Her gaze drifted to the twins, and a faint smile appeared. That they'd never be alone. The monitor beeped steadily. The girls climbed onto the bed, pressing their faces against her arms. Richard stood there, watching in silence, his heart heavy and bewildered. Grace had always said she wanted her kindness to outlive her. Somehow it had. And as he looked at the two small girls, clinging to their mother, he realized that maybe Grace hadn't left him alone after all. Maybe she had sent him a reason to live again. The steady beep of the heart monitor echoed through the hospital room, like a fragile heartbeat of time itself. Richard stood at the foot of the bed, hands shoved deep in his coat pockets, unsure whether to stay or step back. The twins clung to their mother, whispering words too soft to hear. Angela Bennett looked impossibly frail, her brown skin pale beneath the fluorescent light, her breathing shallow and uneven. After several minutes, her eyes found Richard again. "You're Grace's husband," she said softly. He nodded. "Yes, Richard Collins. She talked about you," Angela whispered. "Said you were lost. Said she wished you'd find your way again." Her lips trembled into a weak smile. Maybe this is how. He wanted to ask what that meant, but her eyes were already closing. A nurse entered quietly, checking the monitors, then turned to Richard. "She needs rest. Sir, you should let her sleep." Richard nodded and guided the girls gently toward the hallway. Outside, the sterile air felt too bright, too alive. Anna looked up at him. "Is she going to be okay?" "She's very sick," he said carefully. "But the doctors are doing their best." "Mom said she didn't want to go to heaven yet," Mia murmured. "She said, we still need her." Richard swallowed hard. "Then let's hope she keeps fighting." He drove the girls to a nearby hotel, instead of back to the shelter. The manager didn't ask questions. When Richard paid for 2 adjoining rooms, inside, the girls stood awkwardly near the bed, as though afraid to touch anything. "You can wash up in the bathroom," Richard said. "There are clean towels." Mia hesitated. "Are you sure it's okay?" "It's okay," he assured. "You're safe here." When they emerged, dressed in oversized t-shirts the hotel staff had found, they looked smaller than ever. Richard ordered soup and chicken tenders from room service. The girls ate quietly at the small table, glancing at him between bites. After a while, Anna spoke. "You really knew Mrs. Collins?" "I did," he said. "She was my wife." Anna tilted her head. "She was nice, wasn't she?" His throat tightened. "Yes. She was the best person I've ever known. Mom said Mrs. Collins helped her when everyone else gave up." Mia said, "She paid the hospital so we could be born, and came every week to see us when we were babies." Richard's fork froze halfway to his mouth. "She never told me that," he murmured. Anna shrugged, her childlike honesty cutting deep. "Maybe she didn't want you to worry." Later, when the girls were asleep, he sat by the window, staring at the streetlights. Grace had been gone 2 years, yet he was only now learning the full measure of her kindness. He could almost hear her voice, gentle but firm. "You always looked at success, Richard. I looked at people." He pressed his hand to his forehead. For years, he'd lived in silence, building walls around his grief. Now 2 children had walked straight through them. The next morning, he woke early and bought breakfast downstairs. Pancakes, orange juice, scrambled eggs. The girls ate quickly, thanking him between bites. "We should see Mom," Anna said. "We promised we'd come back." Richard nodded. "Of course." At the hospital, Angela looked weaker. The doctor pulled Richard aside. "She has advanced cardiomyopathy. She's not responding to treatment. I'm afraid it's a matter of days." Richard exhaled slowly. "Does she have family?" "None that we know of. Just those 2 girls." The doctor looked at him curiously. "Are you related?" "No," Richard said. "But I suppose my wife was." Angela's eyes fluttered open when the girls entered. "You came back," she whispered. "Always," Anna said. Angela smiled faintly, her gaze shifting to Richard. "She said you'd come." "Who?" he asked. "Grace," Angela breathed. "She told me if I ever couldn't take care of them, you would. She said you had a good heart, even if you didn't believe it." Richard's throat ached. "Angela, I didn't know any of this. I didn't know she helped you." "She didn't help me," Angela corrected. "She saved me, and she loved those girls as if they were her own." Angela's breathing grew shallower. She reached for his hand, her fingers cold but steady. "Promise me," she whispered. "Promise me you'll look after them." Richard hesitated only a second. "I promise." Her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. Now maybe I can rest." The monitor beeped softly. Angela closed her eyes, her chest rising one last time, before falling still. "Mommy!" Mia's voice broke the silence. "Mommy, wake up!" Richard stepped forward, gathering the crying girls into his arms. The nurse came running, then slowed when she saw the truth written on their faces. "I'm sorry," the nurse said quietly. Richard held the twins, feeling their small bodies shake against him. "She's gone, isn't she?" Anna whispered. "Yes," he said gently. "But she's at peace now. She said Mrs. Collins would be our guardian." Mia sobbed. "Does that mean you?" Richard couldn't speak for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. "Yes, sweetheart. It means me." That night, he didn't take them back to the hotel. Instead, he brought them home. The Collins estate was a quiet stretch of land, outside the city, surrounded by maples and the faint smell of rain. The girls fell asleep in the car, their small heads resting against each other. Richard carried them inside one by one, tucking them into the guest bedroom. The house felt different that night, not empty, but alive again, filled with soft breathing and the faint sound of dreams. He stood at the doorway watching them. In the flicker of the bedside lamp, he thought he saw Grace's smile, reflected in their faces. Later, in his study, he poured a glass of whiskey and sat before the fire. He opened an old photo album. There was Grace at the hospital, laughing with patients, holding newborns. And there, he froze, was a photo of her with a young black woman, smiling down at 2 infants wrapped in pink blankets. Written in Grace's neat handwriting beneath it, "Angela and her miracles." He traced the words with his finger. Grace had known. She had planned for this moment. He looked toward the hallway where the girls slept. "Grace," he whispered, "you've done it again." The wind outside rattled the windows, but for the first time in years, the sound didn't feel lonely, felt like an answer. Real life story, where every tear hides a miracle. Hit that subscribe button now, so you never miss the next heartbeat. The next morning, Richard woke to the sound of laughter, echoing faintly down the hall. For a moment, he thought it was a dream. Grace's voice, warm and melodic, drifting through the house the way it used to. But when he stepped into the hallway, he realized it wasn't Grace at all. It was Anna and Mia. They were in the kitchen, sitting on the counter, swinging their legs and giggling, as the housekeeper, Mrs. Turner, tried to teach them how to crack eggs. "You can't hit it too hard, honey, or it'll explode," Mrs. Turner warned, her gray bun wobbling. Anna tapped an egg gently on the bowl's rim, then grinned as it broke neatly in two. "Like this." "Perfect," Mrs. Turner said proudly. When she saw Richard in the doorway, she smiled. "Good morning, Mr. Collins. Seems you've got early risers." He managed a faint smile. "That's new. They're sweet girls," Mrs. Turner said, "though I'll admit I was a bit surprised when they appeared." She lowered her voice. "They your wife's kin?" Richard hesitated. "Something like that." Mrs. Turner studied his face for a moment, but didn't pry further. "Breakfast will be ready soon." As she turned back to the stove, Mia climbed down from the counter and ran up to Richard, clutching a whisk like a trophy. "We're helping. Mrs. Turner says we're chefs now." "Is that so?" Richard asked, crouching down. "Then I suppose I'm the lucky customer." She nodded eagerly. "Do you like pancakes?" "I love pancakes." He didn't really. Grace had always been the one who did, but somehow saying it felt right. Anna smiled shyly. "Mom used to make them for us on Saturdays, with blueberries." Her voice faltered a little on the word mom. Richard's heart twisted. "We can do that here too," he said softly. "If you'd like." After breakfast, he called his lawyer Thomas Reed, a man he'd known for 20 years, loyal, pragmatic, the kind who believed in order above emotion. When Thomas arrived later that morning, he was polite but visibly curious about the two children chasing each other across the living room rug. "You've been busy, Richard," he said, setting down his briefcase. "Care to explain?" Richard told him everything, from finding the girls at Grace's grave to Angela's final words. Thomas listened without interrupting, though his expression grew more skeptical by the minute. "And you've brought them here?" "Yes," Richard said. "They have nowhere else." "You do realize what this looks like," Thomas said carefully. "The press will have a field day. Two black children living in the home of one of America's richest white men. It'll talk." Richard's jaw tightened. "Let them," Thomas sighed. "You can't ignore optics, Richard. The board's already nervous about your absence lately. This could make things worse." "Grace helped their mother," Richard said. "These girls are her responsibility now, which makes them mine." Thomas studied him for a long moment. "You sound like her," he said quietly. "Maybe that's not such a bad thing." Later, when Thomas left, Richard stood by the window, watching Anna and Mia chase each other through the garden. Their laughter floated through the open door, like sunlight. For the first time in years, the house didn't feel like a tomb. That afternoon, he drove the girls back to the hospital for Angela's release papers. The social worker, Carla Simmons, met them in the lobby. "Mr. Collins," she said, flipping through a file. "I understand you've taken the children in temporarily." "That's right. We'll need to discuss long-term arrangements," she said. "Family placement, foster options, guardianship." "Were you and Miss Bennett related?" "No, but my late wife was their godmother." Carla adjusted her glasses. "Legally, that's not binding." Richard met her gaze. "Morally, it is." She sighed. "Mr. Collins, I'm not questioning your intentions, but this process takes time. There will be evaluations, background checks, court approvals. Do what you need to, he said evenly. But until then, they stay with me. Anna clung to his hand, her small fingers gripping tightly. Carla hesitated, then nodded. I'll start the paperwork. As they left the hospital, Mia looked up at him. Do we have to leave now? No, he said gently. You're coming home with me. She smiled, her eyes lighting up with something fragile but pure. Trust. On the drive back, the sun broke through the clouds, casting long rays across the windshield. Anna leaned her head against the window. Do you think Mom's with Mrs. Collins now? I think, Richard said softly. They're both watching over us. That night, the girls insisted on saying a prayer before bed. They knelt beside the guest room bed, hands clasped. Dear God, Anna whispered, please tell Mommy and Mrs. Collins we're okay. And thank you for the nice man who brought us pancakes. Richard stood in the doorway unseen. His throat burned. After they were asleep, he wandered the halls of his house, past framed photographs of business awards, charity galas, and smiling faces he barely remembered. For years, success had been his armor. Now it felt meaningless. In the quiet of his study, he opened Grace's old journal, one she had kept during her volunteer work. The first page began with a quote. In her elegant handwriting, kindness is not a duty, it's the proof that our hearts still work. He turned the pages slowly, until he found an entry dated 6 years earlier. Angela Bennett, pregnant alone. I paid her bills. I told her she'd never be alone again. I hope I can keep that promise. He closed the book and stared at the fire. You kept it, Grace, he whispered. And now it's my turn. The next morning, as dawn stretched pale light through the windows, Richard found the twins curled up on the couch, tangled in a blanket, fast asleep. He stood there for a long time, the quiet hum of the city outside, mingling with their soft breathing. He had lost so much, his wife, his purpose, his faith in goodness. But somehow, in a twist of fate, he still didn't understand. Grace had given him a second chance. And as he watched the two little girls sleep peacefully in his home, he realized that keeping her promise might just be how he found his way back to the light. Real life story, turning tears into triumphs, one family at a time. Smash that like button if you believe in second chances. When Richard awoke, the house was already alive with movement. He could hear the faint patter of small feet racing down the hall, followed by the delighted squeal of Mia's laughter. For a moment he stayed in bed, listening. The sound was foreign to his home, warm, chaotic, unplanned, and it filled the empty spaces Grace's absence had left behind. By the time he entered the kitchen, Mrs. Turner had the girls lined up at the table, with bowls of oatmeal and sliced strawberries. Anna looked up, spoon halfway to her mouth. Morning, Mr. Collins. Morning, he said, smiling faintly. He hadn't realized how easily that word could feel like sunlight. Mrs. Turner poured him coffee. They've already done their chores, she said, amused. Well, their version of chores. They tried to fold the towels. Bless their hearts. Anna puffed her chest. We helped. Richard looked at the crookedly stacked pile of towels on the counter. You did, he said, and they look perfect. After breakfast, he drove them to a small park near the river. Grace used to love this place. She'd feed the ducks and talk about how stillness was a form of prayer. The girls ran ahead on the path, their laughter echoing over the water. For the first time in 2 years, Richard left his phone in the car. He sat on the bench, where Grace had once read him her favorite poem about hope. The sunlight hit the river just right, scattering light like diamonds across the surface. Anna climbed up beside him. Mrs. Turner said, you make computers, something like that. I used to build programs that help people do their jobs faster. Ah, why don't you do that now? She asked. He hesitated. Because I stopped believing it mattered. Anna frowned thoughtfully. Mrs. Collins wouldn't like that. He chuckled softly. No, she wouldn't. Mia ran up, holding a yellow leaf shaped like a heart. Look, it's like love. He took it gently from her hand, studying its delicate veins. Yes, he said quietly. Exactly like love. On the drive home, he passed a row of billboards, with his own company's logo, Collins Tech building the future. The words felt hollow now. When they reached the house, a black SUV was parked in the driveway. Richard frowned. Standing beside it was a man in a dark suit. Robert Davidson, head of the Collins Tech board. He was tall, immaculate, the kind of man who spoke in press releases. Richard, he said, his tone clipped. We need to talk. Anna and Mia clung instinctively to Richard's coat. It's all right, Richard said gently. Go inside with Mrs. Turner. Once they were gone, Davidson folded his arms. You've missed 2 board meetings. The press is spinning rumors. And now, he gestured toward the door. You're fostering 2 children? Richard's expression hardened. Their mother was dying. My wife made them a promise. I'm keeping it. Richard, Davidson said, lowering his voice, you have a public image to protect. People are already speculating about your sanity. They're asking if grief has. Richard interrupted. Grace believed compassion was more important than image. If that costs me a headline, so be it. Davidson, you can't save everyone. Maybe not, Richard said, but I can save someone. When the man left, Richard stood for a while in the driveway, the wind tugging at his coat. Grace had once told him that people only argued against kindness because they were afraid it would demand something of them. Inside, the twins were building a fort. From couch cushions, they looked up as he entered. Did the man bring trouble? Anna asked cautiously. No, Richard said, smiling. Just noise. That evening, they watched an old movie, one of Grace's favorites. The girls laughed at the black and white slapstick scenes, their laughter bubbling into the quiet room. When the credits rolled, Anna yawned and leaned against him. Are we staying here forever? She asked sleepily. He hesitated. Do you want to? She nodded. It feels like home, Mia whispered, half asleep. Even the walls sound kind. Richard's chest ached. In that tender, unfamiliar way, the ache that meant something broken was trying to heal. After they went to bed, he sat by the fireplace, staring into the flames. Grace's picture rested on the mantel, her smile soft and knowing. I think I understand now, he murmured. You weren't just helping Angela, you were helping me. He opened his laptop for the first time in months. The screen glowed cold and sterile. He began typing an email to the board. Effective immediately, I'll be taking an indefinite leave of absence. My priorities have changed. Asterisk asterisk. The next morning, he took the girls shopping for school supplies. They picked out backpacks, one pink, one purple, and argued cheerfully over which crayons were the best. As they left the store, a photographer snapped a picture. Richard heard the shutter click, but ignored it. A few hours later, his phone buzzed with a news alert. Tired billionaire resurfaces with 2 mystery children. He exhaled slowly. It had begun. That night, as he tucked the girls in, Anna looked up at him. Why do people take pictures of you? Because they don't understand me, he said gently. Or maybe they just want to. Oh, Mom said people fear what they don't understand, Mia murmured. But Mrs. Collins said love fixes that. Richard smiled faintly. She was right. When he turned off the light, the house was silent again, but not empty. He stood by the window, watching the city lights in the distance. For the first time, he didn't feel like he was looking at the world. From behind glass, he was part of it again. And though he didn't yet know what storms were coming, he knew this. Grace had given him a mission that no headline could twist. He would protect Anna and Mia, not out of pity, but out of love. And love, he realized, was the only legacy worth keeping. Real life story, where broken hearts become unbreakable families. Comment below. Would you open your home to strangers if love asked you to? Asterisk asterisk. The next few days passed. In a fragile rhythm that felt almost ordinary, Richard found himself rising early again, not out of obligation, but because the sound of laughter in the kitchen had replaced the silence that used to haunt his mornings. Anna and Mia had transformed the house into something living. Their drawings covered the refrigerator door. Their tiny shoes waited by the front entry, like a promise that someone would always come home. On Wednesday morning, as he stood on the patio sipping coffee, he watched the twins chase each other around the garden. Anna's bright yellow scarf streamed behind her like a banner. Mia's giggle cut through the crisp air. Like music, it was a sound Grace would have loved. For the first time in 2 years, he smiled without guilt. His phone buzzed. It was Thomas Reed again. Richard sighed, answering, "Morning, Thomas." "Richard, you need to see what's circulating," Thomas said. "It's already on half the news feeds." Richard went back inside, turned on the television, and there it was, his face, his house, and 2 tiny figures blurred in the background. The headline read, "Tainted Legacy. Billionaire Richard Collins hides 2 black children in his estate." He felt his stomach drop. The voice of a commentator filled the room. "Is this charity, scandal, or something darker?" Collins Tech has declined to comment on his recent behavior. He switched it off. The silence afterward felt heavier than before. When the girls came running in, breathless and laughing, he forced a smile. "How about we go to the bookstore today?" Mia clapped her hands. "Can we get fairy tales?" "Anything you want," he said. He knew he couldn't shield them from the noise forever, but he would try. At the bookstore, the twins picked out storybooks and a stuffed dog they named Pumpkin. When they reached the counter, the cashier gave Richard a long, curious look. "They yours?" she asked, trying for casual but failing. "They're family," he said simply. The woman's smile wavered. "You're doing a good thing?" He nodded but said nothing. Outside, a man with a camera stood by the car. "Mr. Collins," he shouted. "Who are the girls? Is this a secret family?" Anna shrank behind him. Why is he yelling? Richard opened the car door, ushering the girls inside. "He's just confused," he said. "Are we in trouble?" Mia whispered. He paused, crouching to meet her eyes. "No, sweetheart. You didn't do anything wrong." When he got home, Thomas was waiting on the porch, arms crossed. "I told you the media would twist this." "I don't care," Richard said flatly. "You should," Thomas replied. "The board's calling for an emergency vote. They think you're unstable. They might try to force you out." Richard stared past him, at the twins through the window. They were showing Mrs. Turner their new books, giggling like nothing in the world was wrong. "If I lose the company, I lose the company, but I won't abandon them." Thomas's voice softened. "Richard, listen to me. You're not just protecting 2 kids. You're fighting a system that doesn't forgive. You'll need to be smart about this." "Grace wouldn't have walked away," Richard said quietly. "And neither will I." That night he couldn't sleep. The phone kept vibrating. Reporters, investors, people he hadn't spoken to in years, suddenly demanding explanations. He ignored them all. Instead, he walked down the hall to check on the girls. They were asleep, curled together under a mountain of blankets. On the nightstand sat the stuffed dog, and one of Grace's old photographs. Grace laughing, her hair blowing in the wind, holding a newborn in a hospital blanket. Angela's child, maybe. Richard felt something shift inside him, resolve sharper than grief. The next morning, he called a press conference. Thomas nearly choked on his coffee when he heard, "You're inviting the press? After all this?" "Yes," Richard said. "I'm not hiding anymore." At noon, the front lawn was crowded with cameras. Richard stood on the steps of the house, the twins beside him. Their small hands clutched his jacket. The reporters shouted questions. He raised his hand for silence. "My name is Richard Collins," he began. 2 years ago, I lost my wife, Grace. She was the heart of everything I believed in. Before she died, she made a promise to a woman named Angela Bennett, a promise that her daughters would never be alone. He looked down at Anna and Mia. These are Angela's daughters. Grace kept her promise in spirit, and now I'm keeping it in her name. The crowd quieted. He continued, his voice steady. You can write whatever headlines you want. Say what you will about me. But know this, if compassion ruins my reputation, then it was never worth having. For a long, silent moment, no one spoke. Then one reporter called out softly, "What will happen to the girls now?" "They'll stay here," Richard said. "They're home." The questions came again, louder this time. But he turned, guiding the twins back inside. As soon as the door closed, Anna looked up at him. "You were brave." He smiled, kneeling. "You think so?" She nodded solemnly. "Mrs. Collins would be proud." He swallowed the sudden lump in his throat. "I hope so, Anna. I really hope so." That evening, he found the girls sitting by the fireplace, drawing pictures on scrap paper. Mia held up hers proudly, a tall man holding hands with two little girls, standing under a sky full of hearts. "It's us," she said. "And that's Mommy and Mrs. Collins in the clouds." He took the drawing, his eyes burning. "It's beautiful," he whispered. When they went to bed, he lingered in the doorway, listening to their soft breathing. He realized that the noise of the world no longer mattered. For the first time in years, his house was full of life, and his heart, broken and scarred though it was, had found its rhythm again. He didn't know what the next day would bring. There would be backlash, consequences, more scrutiny. But as he stood there, he felt Grace's presence, like a quiet light in the room. "Whatever comes next," he whispered, "we'll face it together." And for the first time, he believed it. Real life story, proof that love always finds a way. Subscribe now. Your next favorite miracle is waiting. ***. The morning after the press conference, the air outside the Collins estate felt unusually still. The front gates were quiet. No reporters, no cameras, no chaos. For the first time in days, Richard felt a fragile sense of peace. He stood by the window of his study, coffee cooling in his hands, as the first golden rays of sunrise cut across the garden. Inside the kitchen, Anna and Mia's voices floated through the air, bright and comforting. Mrs. Turner was humming an old gospel tune. As she fried eggs, Mia was helping by setting the table, though most of the napkins ended up crooked. Anna stood on a stool, flipping pancakes with surprising precision. Richard leaned against the doorframe. "You're becoming quite the chef, Anna," she beamed. "Mrs. Turner says pancakes make people happy." "They do," Richard said softly, "especially when they're made with love." After breakfast, he walked the girls to the car. It was their first official day of school, a small private academy just outside the city. Grace had once donated to the same school, saying every child deserved a place. That made them feel safe. Anna wore her yellow scarf again. Mia had her hair in 2 braids tied with pink ribbons. They looked both excited and nervous. "You'll be great," Richard said, kneeling so his eyes were level with theirs. "Just be kind. The rest will follow." Mia hugged him tightly. "Will you come pick us up?" "Of course," he said. "You're stuck with me now." The drive was quiet at first, the girls watching the city slide past their windows. When they arrived, a few parents stared, some curious, some polite, some less so. 2 black girls walking beside, one of the most recognizable white billionaires in New York. Made for a scene people didn't know how to read. Richard noticed the glances, but kept his focus on the girls. "Head high," he whispered to them. "You belong here." The principal, Mrs. Jenkins, greeted them warmly at the gate. "Welcome, Anna. Welcome, Mia. We're very happy to have you." Anna clung to Richard's hand. "It's okay," he said gently. "I'll be here at 3. She nodded, trying to be brave, and let go. As they disappeared through the school doors, Richard felt an ache in his chest, the same one he used to feel when Grace would walk away at airports. Love and fear always traveled together. Back at the office, Thomas was waiting in the conference room, pacing. "You caused an earthquake," he said, as soon as Richard entered. "I spoke the truth," Richard replied, sitting down. Thomas ran a hand through his hair. "You also tanked your company's stock by 8% overnight." Richard didn't flinch. "It'll recover or it won't. Either way, I'm done living by numbers." Thomas stared at him, bewildered. "You really are changing, aren't you?" Richard looked out the window, his reflection faint against the skyline. "Maybe I'm finally becoming who Grace thought I could be." Later that afternoon, he drove back to the school. The girls were waiting by the gate, backpacks slung over their shoulders, grinning. Mia ran up first. "I made a friend." "That's wonderful," he said, lifting her into his arms. "What's her name?" "Sarah," Mia said proudly. "She has freckles and likes frogs." Anna smiled too, but it was small and uncertain. "It was okay," she said when he asked. "Some kids asked why we live with you." Richard hesitated. "What did you tell them?" "That you're our family," she said. "Because you promised." His heart twisted. That's exactly right. On the way home, they stopped by the park. The afternoon light was soft, golden, the kind Grace had loved to photograph. The girls played on the swings, while Richard sat on the same bench he and Grace had once shared. He felt someone approach, and turned to see a woman standing beside him. A stranger, neatly dressed, her expression unreadable. "Mr. Collins?" she asked. "I'm Detective Lorna Hayes. May I have a word?" Richard's stomach tensed. "About what?" She handed him a card. "Angela Bennett's case. There were inconsistencies in her hospital report. I need to confirm a few things." He frowned. "What kind of inconsistencies?" "Her medical file lists her as having no next of kin," Hayes said. "Yet someone paid all her bills in cash. No traceable record. We thought it might be an anonymous donor, but the hospital flagged it after your press conference." Richard stiffened. "Grace handled those expenses." The detective nodded slowly. "Then perhaps you can help us locate where the payments originated." "It's likely nothing, but there's been talk that Angela might have been pressured by someone to sign certain documents before she passed." The word pressured hung in the air like smoke. "I'll cooperate fully," Richard said, though his voice was tight. "But I can tell you right now, Grace would never hurt her." "I believe that, Detective Hayesgan, but I think someone else might have." When she left, Richard sat there for a long moment, the autumn wind tugging at his coat. That night, after tucking the girls into bed, he went to Grace's study. It had remained untouched for 2 years, her books still in neat rows, her fountain pen still resting on the desk. He opened her old laptop, hoping to find clarity. There, among old donation records and correspondence, was a file labeled Angela Final Trust. It was encrypted. He leaned back in his chair, his pulse quickening. Grace had never hidden things from him, except maybe this. In the quiet of that dim room, surrounded by her lingering scent of lavender and paper, Richard realized something. Grace's compassion had always been fierce, but she had also been careful. If she had encrypted that file, there was a reason. He looked toward the window, where the city lights glimmered faintly against the night sky. For the first time since Grace's death, the grief he carried shifted into something else. Determination. He would open that file. He would learn the truth about Angela Bennett, and he would protect Anna and Mia from whatever shadows were still hiding behind their mother's story. Real life story, where secrets become salvation. Drop a heart emoji if you're ready for the twist. The next morning, Richard woke with a sense of urgency he hadn't felt in years. The encrypted file haunted him all night. He had tried 3 of Grace's old passwords: her birthday, their wedding date, even the quote she used to recite about mercy, but none worked. It wasn't like her to hide things, unless she'd been protecting someone. Downstairs, the smell of cinnamon and toast filled the kitchen. The twins were already dressed for school, their laughter echoing off the marble floor. For a moment, he stood in the doorway watching them. He wanted to hold on to this normalcy before he peeled back another layer of the past. Anna noticed him first. "Morning, Mr. Collins." "Morning, sweetheart," he said, managing a smile. "You ready for school?" "Yes, sir," she said, proud of her neat uniform. "Mia says we should sing in the car today." Mia grinned mischievously. "He can sing too." Richard laughed. "Oh, I doubt that, but you can try to teach me." Their laughter, pure and unguarded, made something inside him ache. How easily they trusted him. How deeply Grace must have trusted Angela to take them under her care. He kissed the top of their heads before sending them off with Mrs. Turner. When they left, he went straight to his study. The laptop waited on the desk, like a locked door to a truth he wasn't sure he wanted. He called his tech advisor, Mark Whitman, a discreet programmer who'd handled Collins Tech's private encryption years ago. "Mark," he said, keeping his tone steady, "I need you to access an old file. Personal. It's encrypted with a key Grace used before she died." There was a pause on the other end. "You sure you want me poking around in something she locked down herself?" "Yes," Richard said quietly. "I think she wanted me to find it eventually. Send it over. Give me a few hours." By noon, Richard drove to the city to meet Detective Hayes. She was waiting in a quiet cafe off Fifth Avenue, the kind of place where conversations disappeared into the clink of coffee cups. "Mr. Collins," she said as he sat down, "thank you for coming. You mentioned documents Angela might have been forced to sign." He began. "What kind of documents?" Hayes flipped open a folder, a revised will, and a consent form authorizing full custody of her children to a third party. The signatures are dated 3 days before she was admitted to the hospital. Richard's stomach clenched. "That's impossible. She was barely conscious then." "That's what caught our attention," Hayes said. "The forms were filed by an attorney connected to Collins Enterprises, a man named Robert Davidson." Richard froze. Davidson, his father's old right-hand man, the same man who tried to warn him against helping the girls. "I know Davidson," he said slowly. "He's still on my board." Hayes studied him. "Then you'll understand why I'm asking. Was he acting on your behalf?" "No," Richard said immediately. "Never." "Then I suggest you find out whose behalf it was," she said, sliding the folder toward him. "Because if those signatures are forged, someone used your wife's promise and your name to take control of Angela Bennett's life. When she left," he sat for a long moment, staring at the folder. The papers inside looked ordinary, typed text, legal jargon, but they radiated something foul. Grace's generosity had been manipulated, and maybe, just maybe, it had gotten Angela killed. Back at the house, Mark called. "You were right," he said. "The file wasn't meant to stay locked forever. She used a delayed access code. Took me a while, but I cracked it." Richard's voice was tight. "What's inside?" "Letters, journal entries, and one scanned document labeled Confidential Agreement, Angela Bennett. I'll send them securely." He opened the file. As soon as the email arrived, Grace's words filled the screen, her handwriting digitized, delicate and certain. July 8th. Angela's health is failing. I've paid her bills through the private fund, but she's terrified, not of dying, of leaving the girls behind. She keeps saying someone came to her, asking for signatures, claiming it was for medical coverage. She didn't understand the legal language, and I fear she signed something dangerous. I'll have Davidson review it quietly. He owes William too many favors to refuse me. Richard's breath caught. Davidson again. He scrolled to the next page. July 10th. Angela's condition worsened. I confronted Davidson. He said he took care of it. His tone scared me. If something happens to me, I want Richard to know, not everyone in our circle is who they pretend to be. The girls must be protected. No one can use them for leverage. If you're reading this, my love, please trust your heart, not the company. He leaned back in the chair, trembling. Grace had known. She'd seen the corruption, creeping in from the same world, that had built their fortune. When Mrs. Turner brought in tea, she paused at the sight of his pale face. "You look like you've seen a ghost, sir." "Maybe I have," he murmured. That evening, he sat with Anna and Mia in the living room. They were watching a cartoon, curled up under a blanket. Anna looked up at him. "You look sad, Uncle Richard." He forced a smile. "Just thinking about your mom and Mrs. Collins." Mia climbed into his lap. "Mom said, some people pretend to be nice but really aren't. But she also said, kind people always win in the end." He wrapped his arms around her, his throat tight. "Your mom was a smart woman." When they went to bed, he stayed awake long after the house was silent. Outside, the wind rattled the windows. In his hand, he held the printed letter. Grace had written to him, the one that ended with her plea, "Trust your heart." He knew now that the truth about Angela's death and Grace's guilt were intertwined. Someone had exploited both women, profiting from their trust, and that someone had to be stopped. The next morning, before the sun rose, Richard made a call. His voice was calm but cold. "Thomas, get me everything you can on Robert Davidson's legal activity for the last 5 years, especially anything connected to medical trusts or personal estates." "Richard, that's a lot of paperwork." "Then start now," he said, "because I think Davidson's been selling. More than contracts, I think he's been selling lives." He hung up, walked to the window, and looked toward the horizon, where the faint glow of dawn was breaking through. Grace's voice seemed to whisper, through the stillness, "Kindness is not a duty. It's the proof that our hearts still work." His heart was working again, but now it was burning for justice. Real life story, where greed meets its match. Stay tuned. The showdown is coming. ****. The following days blurred into a mixture of movement and tension. Richard barely slept, dividing his time between the office and home, trying to keep up appearances, while quietly investigating Davidson's past dealings. The company's board still buzzed with unease after his public declaration, but he no longer cared about the whispers. The world could judge him all it wanted. He had something far more important to protect. On the third day, Thomas arrived at his townhouse with a thick folder and a worried look. "You're not going to like what I found," he said, setting the file on the desk. "Davidson's fingerprints are everywhere." Richard's stomach tightened. "Show me." Thomas opened the folder. 3 years ago, Davidson established a shell foundation, the Grace Outreach Fund. He claimed it was your wife's charity. All donations went through a blind trust, managed by his private law firm. Guess who the first beneficiary was? Angela Bennett, Richard said quietly. Exactly. He used the foundation to funnel money into her medical care, but he also withdrew funds just before she died. Over $200,000 cash. No record where it went. 2 weeks later, he signed over a contract, transferring her apartment and assets to a corporate entity. She owned almost nothing by the time she passed. Richard stared at the documents, anger surging. He robbed her. Thomas nodded grimly, and then he buried the trail under your wife's name. For a long moment, neither man spoke. The air in the room felt heavy, filled with betrayal. Finally, Richard said, "We're going to expose him." Thomas hesitated. "That won't be simple. Davidson's still on your board. He's been with the company for 30 years. If you accuse him publicly, he'll strike back, and he knows where every skeleton is buried." "Then I'll burn down the whole closet," Richard said. "I'm not letting him stain Grace's memory any longer." Thomas studied him. You're changing, Richard. A year ago, you'd have buried this to keep the stock price steady. Grace changed me, he said simply. And now 2 little girls depend on me to do what's right. That night, Richard sat at his desk long after Thomas left, reading through Grace's letters again. One line stood out this time, written in her looping, gentle script. The truth will cost something, but silence costs more. He whispered the words aloud. Then silence ends tonight. The next morning, he requested an emergency board meeting. When he entered the conference room, the board members were already seated, men and women in dark suits, their expressions tight with suspicion. Davidson sat at the head of the table, his silver hair perfectly combed, his face calm as always. Mr. Collins, Davidson began smoothly, we were surprised by your request. I assume this is about the ongoing media fallout. This isn't about the media, Richard interrupted, his tone low but sharp. It's about you. A murmur ran around the table. Davidson blinked, then forced a polite smile. Me? Richard placed a stack of documents in front of him. These are records of your personal transactions. Through the Grace Outreach Fund, you used my wife's name to establish a fake charity, stole from it, and manipulated a dying woman into signing over her property. Davidson's smile faltered for the first time. Those are serious accusations. They're also true, Richard said. And before you deny it, I've already handed the same evidence to Detective Hayes. The room erupted in whispers. Davidson's composure cracked. You're destroying yourself, Richard. Do you have any idea what this will do to the company? Richard's voice was steady. I don't care about the company's reputation. I care about justice, and about 2 little girls who lost their mother because men like you thought they could bury the truth. Davidson slammed his hand on the table. You think you can take me down? I built this firm long before you ever took over. I know every contract, every offshore account. Then maybe the police will find your memory useful, Richard cut in. Because you won't be doing it from this office. 2 security officers stepped forward at his signal. Davidson's face went white. You'll regret this, he hissed, as they led him away. Grace didn't die as innocent as you think. The door closed behind him. Silence lingered like smoke. When Richard finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of something irrevocable. From today forward, Collins Enterprises will rebuild itself around transparency. If that means losing profit, so be it. We've lost enough humanity already. The board said nothing, but no one dared oppose him. After the meeting, Richard drove straight to the girls' school. They were waiting by the gate as always. When they saw him, both ran toward the car, their laughter breaking through the weight of his day. How was school? He asked, as they climbed in. I got a gold star, Mia said proudly, and Anna helped a boy who fell down. Richard smiled. That sounds like something your mother would have done. On the drive home, he felt lighter. Justice wasn't complete, but it had begun. That evening, he received a call from Detective Hayes. Davidson's in custody. We found evidence linking him to several forged documents, including Angela Bennett's will. You did the right thing, Mr. Collins. Thank you, Detective, he said quietly. But this isn't over, is it? No, she admitted. There's still the question of who financed Davidson. He didn't act alone. Richard's gaze drifted toward the photo on his desk, the one of Grace holding a newborn in her arms, smiling with that same calm faith that had carried. Then we'll find out, he said. For her. For them. After he hung up, he went upstairs. The twins were asleep, their breathing soft and even. A night light cast gentle shadows across the room. On the wall, their drawings had multiplied. Rainbows, stars, smiling faces. In one, he noticed something new, a stick figure of him, holding their hands, with the words, "Our family," scrolled in crayon underneath. His eyes stung. He touched the drawing lightly. "We're going to be all right," he whispered. Downstairs, the city lights flickered. Beyond the window, like a promise of both danger and hope. Tomorrow more truths would come to light. But for tonight, for this fragile peace, he was grateful. Real life story, where justice feels like family. Hit subscribe. The best is yet to come. ***. The morning after Davidson's arrest, the Collins estate woke to a strange quiet. Outside, the maple leaves drifted down, like slow golden rain, and the air smelled of autumn and new beginnings. But inside, Richard felt the familiar hum of unease. Victories like this never came without consequence. The headlines were everywhere. Corporate powerhouse exposed in charity scandal. Some articles praised Richard for his courage. Others accused him of destroying his company. He didn't read them. He spent the morning cooking pancakes. With the girls, blueberries just like Grace used to make. Anna stirred the batter carefully, tongue poking from the corner of her mouth. "Do you think Mrs. Collins is proud now?" she asked suddenly. Richard froze for a second before answering. "I think she's smiling somewhere, watching us make a mess of her kitchen." That made both girls laugh, and the sound washed away his tension for a moment. After breakfast, the doorbell rang. When he opened it, Detective Hayes stood there, her coat buttoned against the wind. "Mr. Collins, we need to talk," she said. He ushered her inside, offering coffee. "I take it this isn't a social visit." "Afraid not." She handed him a file. "We've confirmed Davidson didn't work alone. The money trail leads to a subsidiary, owned by one of your board members, a woman named Evelyn Sharp." Richard frowned. "Evelyn, she's head of acquisitions. Grace trusted her." Hayes nodded. "She's been using the charity accounts to funnel money into offshore holdings. Davidson handled the paperwork, but she signed off on everything. It appears she was the one who approached Angela with the forged documents." The words hit like a blow. "So she manipulated Grace's trust and used Angela to cover the transfers." "Exactly," Hayes said. "And with Davidson gone, she's vulnerable. She knows you'll come for her." Richard's jaw tightened. "Then let's make sure she knows. She's not the only one who can play power games." Later that day, he called Thomas to his office. "I want Evelyn Sharp's schedule, financials and communications for the last 6 months," Richard said. Thomas hesitated. "Richard, that's dangerous territory. She's connected, and she'll retaliate." Richard's eyes hardened. "So am I. And this isn't revenge. It's justice." That night, after the girls went to bed, he sat in Grace's study again. The rain had started outside, soft against the windows. He opened her journal, turning to one of the last entries she had written. "Mercy and justice are sisters, but sometimes one must lead the other." He whispered the words to himself. Then tonight, justice leads. When Thomas returned the next morning, he laid a flash drive on Richard's desk. "Everything you asked for, but you should know. Evelyn's been in contact with the media. She's planning to frame you for Davidson's crimes." Richard exhaled slowly. "Of course she is. She's calling a press conference at noon." "Then so am I," Richard said. By midday, reporters were once again gathered on his lawn, cameras flashing against the gray sky. Evelyn Sharp stood at a podium across town, her smile polished, her tone calculated. "Mr. Collins," she said into the microphones, "was aware of the charity accounts and personally approved the transfers. He's now using Davidson's arrest to distract from his own wrongdoing." When Richard's own conference began an hour later, his approach was quieter, steadier. He stood alone, holding a folder in his hands. "You've all heard the accusations," he said. "You've also seen the truth unfold. My wife believed in compassion, not corruption. Today I'm releasing evidence that shows how certain members of my company twisted that compassion for profit." He opened the folder and handed copies of the documents to the press. Bank statements, internal emails, transaction logs, all signed by Evelyn Sharp. "I was blind," he said, his voice steady. I trusted people I shouldn't have. But blindness is not guilt. The real crime is using kindness as a mask for greed. And that ends today. By evening, the media had turned. Evelyn Sharp's face dominated every screen. Her lawyer's statements drowned. Beneath headlines like, "Betrayal inside Collins Tech. Thomas called that night. You did it." The board's voting to remove her. The company's stock is already climbing back. "I don't care about the stock," Richard said. "I care that Grace's name is clean again." He hung up and walked upstairs. The girls were still awake, drawing in their notebooks. "Uncle Richard," Mia said. "At school they said you were on TV again." He smiled, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Yes, I had to tell the truth." Anna looked up from her drawing. "Did people believe you?" "I think some did. The rest will in time." Mia tilted her head. "Mom always said, the truth takes the long road, but it always gets home." He laughed softly. "Your mom was right." When they were asleep, he stepped out onto the balcony. The night air was cool and smelled of rain. The city glittered in the distance, restless, but somehow peaceful. He thought of Grace, of Angela, of the two girls now sleeping safely under his roof. He had lost everything that once defined him. His image, his certainty, his comfortable illusions. And in return, he had gained something far rarer. Clarity. The world still saw him as a man seeking redemption. But he knew better. He wasn't seeking it anymore. He was living it, one truth at a time. As he turned to go back inside, a soft chime sounded on his phone. A message from Detective Hayes. "One last thing. We've discovered who funded the first offshore account. It wasn't Davidson or Sharp. It came from someone closer to home." Richard's pulse quickened. Closer to home. He looked toward the darkened hallway, where Grace's portrait hung, a soft smile forever frozen in time. For the first time, doubt crept in like a shadow. Grace's charity fund, Grace's personal accounts, her encrypted files. He whispered into the stillness. "Grace, what did you know?" "Real life story. The final secret is about to break. Comment truth if you're ready." The words from Detective Hayes lingered in Richard's mind long after the call ended. Closer to home, they echoed through the empty halls of the Collins estate, a whisper that would not fade. He paced the study until the city lights outside blurred into streaks of gold and white. The idea that someone within his home, someone connected to Grace, had funded the accounts felt impossible. Yet the possibility gnawed at him. The next morning he woke early, restless. The girls were still asleep, tangled in blankets and childhood dreams, unaware of the storm building outside their safe little world. He brewed coffee in silence, staring at the steam curling above the mug. Like a ghost of thought, Mrs. Turner entered, tying her apron. "You're up before the sun again, Mr. Collins," she said softly. "You've got that look, the one Grace used to get when she was trying to solve the world's problems." Before breakfast, he smiled faintly. "Maybe I just miss her way of making sense of things." Mrs. Turner hesitated, then spoke carefully. "She always had her own ways of doing good. Sometimes I thought she gave more than she could afford." Richard's eyes lifted. "What do you mean?" Mrs. Turner lowered her gaze. "Before she passed, she had me run errands to the city, cash deliveries. She said they were for hospital bills, rent, small things for people who'd fallen behind. I never asked questions, but she always seemed in a hurry about it." Richard's pulse quickened. "Did she ever mention who received the money?" "No, sir," Mrs. Turner said, frowning. "Only that it had to go out that day. She kept a small notebook, brown leather, worn edges, used to write down names, dates, amounts. She always locked it in her desk." Richard's breath caught. "Do you still have that notebook?" Mrs. Turner thought for a moment. "No, but her desk, her old desk, is still in the attic. I never cleared it." Minutes later, Richard was climbing the narrow wooden steps into the attic. Dust floated in the light from a single small window. The air smelled faintly of lavender and thyme. Grace's writing desk sat against the far wall, covered with a thin sheet. He pulled it away carefully. Inside the top drawer, beneath a stack of old letters and pressed flowers, lay the notebook, brown leather, just as Mrs. Turner described. His hands trembled as he opened it. Each page was filled with Grace's neat looping script. Names, dates, amounts, notes like Angela final payment made, Mercy Hospital account settled, ***, and S. Moretti emergency legal fee covered. But near the end, one entry made him go cold. Transfer private initiated for Angela Bennett through silent donor fund. Source, personal account RC. Approval required. He blinked, reading it again. RC. His initials, but the signature line at the bottom was not his handwriting. It was Grace's. He flipped the page and found a short note written hastily. Richard, if you find this, please forgive me. I used your approval credentials to move funds quickly. There was no time to explain. Davidson was involved, and I feared he would cut Angela off. I had to save her, even if it meant lying to you. If this brings you pain, I'm sorry. Love, Grace. The room seemed to tilt. Grace had used his authorization to move the money, the very transfer that now connected the accounts to him. The scandal, the suspicions, even the whispers about corruption. It all pointed back to her desperate act of kindness. He sat down heavily on an old trunk, the notebook open in his hands. For 2 years, he had worshipped her memory as pure light. Now he saw the shadows, too, the moral compromises she had made for compassion. When Mrs. Turner called from downstairs that the girls were ready for school, he didn't answer at first. He just stared at Grace's handwriting, feeling both betrayed and awed. She had broken his trust to keep her promise. At breakfast, he watched Anna and Mia chatter about a school art project. Their innocence grounded him, reminding him why Grace had done what she did. Love wasn't neat. It was messy, complicated, and sometimes dangerous. Later that afternoon, he met Detective Hayes at the precinct. She gestured to a file on her desk. We traced the offshore transfers back to an account that belonged to your wife, but it wasn't embezzlement. Every cent went to medical charities. That's why Davidson couldn't touch it legally. She outsmarted him. Richard handed her the notebook. She used my credentials without telling me. Hayes glanced through it, then looked up. She trusted you enough to risk your name. He nodded slowly. She knew I'd forgive her. Eventually, Hayes leaned forward. Mr. Collins, your wife wasn't naive. She knew how easily power corrupts. Maybe she believed that love, and what you do in its name, was the only safeguard left. Her words struck him deeply. Grace hadn't just left him a moral debt. She had left him a map. That evening, he returned home to find the girls sitting at the piano. Anna was pressing keys gently, trying to imitate a melody from memory. When she noticed him, she smiled shyly. Mrs. Collins taught my mom a song once, she said. Mom sang it to us when we were scared. I think I still remember it. Mia joined her, and together they sang a few uncertain notes. The tune was simple, soft, but it carried something ancient, comfort and sound. Richard stood there listening, eyes stinging, until Anna stopped and looked up. Are you okay, Uncle Richard? Yes, he whispered. I just remembered something beautiful. That night after they went to bed, he sat by the fire, the notebook opened beside him. Grace had lied, yes, but she had done it for love, not greed. Her mercy had forced his world into chaos, but it had also saved 2 lives. He lifted his glass toward her photo on the mantel. You always did play by your own rules, he murmured. And I suppose I'll keep playing by them, too. The wind picked up, rustling the trees. Somewhere in the distance, the faint echo of the girl's song seemed to linger in the air. For the first time, the weight of the truth didn't crush him, steadied him. Grace's secret hadn't destroyed her legacy. It had made it real. And as the firelight flickered, across her smiling face, Richard whispered one final promise. To her memory, whatever comes next, I'll finish what you started. The next morning dawned with a heavy fog that rolled over the hills behind the Collins estate, swallowing the garden and silencing the birds. Richard sat at his desk, the brown leather notebook open beside his coffee, his pen tapping absently against the wood. Grace's words from the final page echoed in his mind. If this brings you pain, I'm sorry. It did bring pain, but not the kind that broke him. It was the kind that shaped resolve. Grace had trusted him enough to leave behind a secret she knew he would one day have to face. Now it was his turn to finish what she started. He called Thomas at dawn. I need to reopen the Grace Outreach Fund, he said. Thomas groaned on the other end. Richard, the fund's name, has been dragged through scandal for weeks. You really want to put it back in the spotlight? Yes, Richard said firmly. But this time, it won't be a front for corruption. It'll be what Grace meant it to be, a living promise, real support for families like Angela's. Transparent, accountable, untouchable. Thomas hesitated. If you're serious, you'll need oversight, independent auditors, new trustees, community leaders. Then find them, Richard said, and I'll start with the first donation, $10 million directly from my personal account. Grace deserves to have her name cleaned, the right way. By the time he hung up, the sun had begun to pierce through the fog, throwing pale light across the room. It caught the edge of Grace's framed photograph, the one from their early days, her eyes bright with hope. For a brief, impossible second, he thought she looked proud. Downstairs, the girls were already awake, playing in the living room with their dolls. Mia had dressed,